Hello again, and welcome to the show. My name's Andy Hersman, and this is the show where I just say it the way it is and make no bones about it. So you can call if you agree or disagree. Free speech is encouraged. 631 440 6012, and leave a message on the machine, and I will respond to what you say on the air. Okay, so let's get started. So here we are in the good old USA, and I bet most of us believe, like I used to, that we are free. Now think about this. Are we really free? Actually, we're all born, unless we're have millionaire parents, or we win the lotto or things like that. We really are born into indentured servitude. I mean, think about it. You know, we're born. We need food. We need certain things to survive: shelter, heat, electricity, transportation, clothes. And in order to get those things, we're forced to work for them. And it just never ends. I mean, the need is always there, so we're constantly forced to work. And think about how we're getting screwed over. I mean, when you work, somebody hires you, and they never pay you what your work is worth. What they do is they pay you less than what your work is worth, and make a profit off of they make a profit off your work. So there you go. They're screwing you over right there. Then the government comes along and taxes you on the money you do make. Okay. Now you have a little bit of money to buy the things you need. And what happens? They tax you again, first of all, on the things you buy. And they always charge you more than what the things are worth that you buy. So the people selling you the stuff also make a profit. So there you go. You're getting screwed on both ends, on making the money and spending the money. And that gives you very little to save for retirement or anything else that you might spend money on that is more than just to survive. So yeah, we're really indentured servitude. That's what we're all in, which is basically slavery. Think about it. Now, there's a certain thing I want to tell people that might help, especially college kids, college students. If you're a college student and you get tons of loans because you can't afford college, I mean, it's ridiculous how much it costs, right? Well, even if you declared bankruptcy, you couldn't get rid of that debt. But let me give you some advice. Even if you're not in college, if you're just starting out in life, and you trying to get yourself situated, and the best way, this is, I speak from experience, so this is what I've did. And I'm not telling everybody they should do this, but this is an option. I'm not a lawyer, so consult with a lawyer if you consider doing this. But again, this is how I did it. What I did was, first I got a Macy's credit card, okay, and then I bought a shirt for about $20, and paid that off. And then of course other credit cards, from local stores, and you pay that back, and all of a sudden your credit rating goes sky high because they think you're, you know, you're being a good credit person because you're paying back your debt. And if you wait and pay the interest, they even like that even more. Well, anyway, once you do that with the store credit cards, then all of a sudden your mailbox gets filled up with, you know, Visa, MasterCard, all that stuff. So, what do? You say yes to all of them. They're stupid enough to offer it to you, then guess what? Go for it. Sign up for every credit card they offer you. And do the same thing. Buy $100 worth of stuff and pay $20 a month back with a minimum. And you'll see they'll give you so much credit, you know, that it'll, if you add it all up with all the cards, it'll probably be $40, $50, $60,000 worth of credit. They're willing to give you. And you know, it's just like the other bubble with the real estate, where they would just give anybody a mortgage. They're willing to give anybody a credit card because they're greedy bastards. They want your money, and they charge you crazy interest. But anyway, so once you have all the credit cards, go nuts with them. I'm serious. Go nuts with them. Pay off your student loans. Buy a new car. Go on trips. Buy new clothes. Just, you know, spend it all. I'm serious. Just, you know, you're young. You have nothing to lose. What the hell? Now, then you start, you know, when it's all maxed out, then you pay the minimum to keep it going for a few months to show that you're trying to pay it back. And then you just go, hey, I can't afford this. And it's that simple. You get a bankruptcy lawyer, you go to the in front of a judge, he swears you in, and they'll ask you if you have anything of value, like you know, bonds, stocks, gold, property, whatever. And if you know, you're not supposed to have any of that, so if you swear under oath that you don't have anything, all the debt gets wiped out, just like that. And I'm sure a lot of you are brainwashed into thinking that's stealing or it's not right. Now think about this. What the banks are doing, they're charging you up to, what, 20, more than that, even, you know, 21, 22, 25% interest. I mean, it's crazy. That's really the crooks right there. You know, it would take you your whole life to pay that back. So, you know, the worst thing that can happen is it goes on your record for about 7 years, and at that time you don't need any credit because you have all the things you need. You got your new car, you got your clothes, you know, you got your student loan paid off, whatever. So why would you need any credit? I mean, it works. Think about it. I know you think I'm crazy, but I think to be ahead $40,000 or $50,000 at the age of 19 instead of being in debt and paying it back, by the time you reach zero, it's going to be another 10 years at least. So the bankruptcy thing is worth it, and it's legal, and you're not going to go to jail for it. And again, if you think it's not moral or anything like that, think about these banks. They don't care. Matter of fact, the money that gets loaned to you from credit cards, if you read the Federal Reserve, you know how they generate money, how money is created. That's exactly how it's created through these credit cards and through other loans that banks make. In other words, they don't give you real money that the banks have. They actually create it out of nothing. So they only need to have 10% of it in the bank, and the rest of it they create. So in other words, if you borrow $10,000 from a bank, 1,000 is in the bank, that's their money, and then the rest of it, the 9,000, they create out of thin air. So that's when you pay that back, that's all profit for them. Look it up. It's true. So, that's why when people don't pay back their credit cards, they try to get, pennies on the dollar, because they just want to get their initial investment back. And, they're not worried about losing the other part because it wasn't theirs to begin with. So, and believe it or not, I think it was 3 years after I had my bankruptcy, I did get a mortgage. And I did get credit cards again. So, I mean, the mortgage was a little bit on the high side, but after my bankruptcy, I went back and refinanced it at a lower rate, and everything was fine. So, something to consider. Bankruptcy on credit cards. Like I said, they're stupid enough to give you the money. Might as well take it. I think you got to be crazy not to do this, but that's all, my advice for today on that. But yeah, consider that. Okay, then my next topic is religion. No one talks about religion or politics, other than they're afraid to. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you. You know what's really scary? In a recent poll, according to the Huffington Post, 34% of Americans are in favor of establishing Christianity as the official state religion in their state. Think about it, 34%. Do you know how dangerously close America is becoming a theocracy? Like Iran? A theocracy is a government ruled by a subject or religious authority. This is really insane. Every time I turn around, there's another assault on the separation of church and state. We have "In God We Trust" on our money, or we have "One Nation Under God" in the pledge. I mean, there's constant attempts to have creationism taught in public schools. The repeated attempts to create laws against gay marriage and abortion based on the Bible. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, they claim that evolution is just a theory. I mean, the attack on those who want to respect all religions by saying happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. There's displays of the Ten Commandments or the nativity scene on courthouses and on public property. Politicians are always saying "God bless America" after every speech. Did you know atheists are actually prohibited in 7 states to hold public office? It says so in their state constitutions. I'm not kidding you, look it up. So yeah, these are the attempts to make America a theocracy. Now you might say, oh hey, what's the harm? Right? Most people are Christian anyway. Founding fathers were Christians, right? Well, no. I mean, even if every American believed in Jesus, that still wouldn't be justification to have a theocracy. And most of our founding fathers were deists. They weren't Christians at all. The United States was it was the first secular nation to exist in this whole world. The first one. So, now just imagine if Christianity became the law of the land. We'd be stoning unruly children to death and giving the death penalty to those who worked on the Sabbath. Seriously, that's what would happen. Now picture this. A convicted rapist stands before a judge to be sentenced, right? The judge opens up the Bible and he reads Deuteronomy 22, 28 through 29, which says, "If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. Then he orders the rapist to pay the father 50 ounces of silver and sets a wedding date with the instructions that a divorce will never be allowed. Is that the kind of country we want to live in? Is that what America is supposed to become? Christian nation, huh? Now, what if there was a child that wanted to become a scientist and might one day find a cure for cancer, and the parents of that child pounded into their mind that evolution wasn't real and destroyed their chances of getting involved with real science? How much damage would that cause mankind? I don't think you could put a price on it. I mean, this is the 21st century, right? We as a nation need to embrace science, not theology. Sure, I respect the Constitution and the freedom of religion. I'm not saying you can't believe what you want. Sure, go pray at home and at church, or even silently in school. Nobody's going to stop you. Yet, according to Kevin Fitzgerald of the Knights of Columbus Council, 11091 in Ohio, he says, quote, "There are many examples of people trying to take Christianity and Christmas out of our daily lives," unquote. Yeah, okay. He expressed a concern for atheists' attempt to remove the Ten Commandments from public courthouses and nativity scenes from public property. Yet he expressed no concern for the separation of church and state. His excuse was that 50 years ago there would be a nativity scene on every town square, as if getting away with it back then made it perfectly legal and constitutional. Well, let me explain something. Back in the 50s, Americans were overly frightened by the expansion of communism. And since the dictators of communist countries removed religion in order to gain better power over the people, Americans tried to do the opposite by embracing religion. So during McCarthyism, that's when they put "In God We Trust" and "Under God" on the money and in the pledge. Those things weren't originally there. Because of the fear of communism, we made a giant leap towards a theocracy. And it just keeps on going since then. The Knights of Columbus are selling magnets that say "Keep Christ in Christmas," as if there was some kind of war on Christmas. These magnets are another tool to bring America closer to a theocracy. Imaginary attacks on Christianity are not productive. Support for the separation of church and state is not a war on religion. As a matter of fact, it protects religion because it separates the government from controlling religion. Okay? So as we go further into the 21st century, we, as a nation, have an opportunity to become an even greater nation than we already are. We can support the Constitution's freedom of religion, at the same time uphold the separation of church and state. There is room for both. Now, if 34% of our citizens actually support us becoming a theocracy, they should look closely at the other countries like Iran and see how well that's working out for them. So think about it. I really don't want America to become a theocracy. What do you think? 631-440-6012. And leave a message and let me know. Okay, my last topic for today is about the police. And I used to believe they were there to serve and protect. And now after doing some research, I guess that little myth has actually been broken too. Alright, and first of all, I'd like to point out that the police get paid to do what they do. And that means they need to generate money to justify their salaries. Police are giving a certain quota for tickets they give out, and this will give them the incentive to pull over as many cars as they can, no matter if it's deserved or not. So it's not uncommon for a police officer to pull someone over and then try to figure out a violation to give a ticket for. This, of course, is unconstitutional and violates both the civilians' rights and the oath the officer took to uphold and protect the Constitution. Instead of serve and protect, it's really harass and bully. An officer is supposed to have reasonable cause to stop someone. And yeah, they always get away with just pulling people over. Especially at road checkpoints, that's a real violation of the person's right. I mean, too often than not, police try to stop themselves from being filmed by videotaped, people, with cell phones. In other words, they always tell you, oh, stop filming, and they threaten you. And this, again, violates the rights of the civilians the police are hired to serve and protect. People are told, stop filming, stand far away from the police activity, or else the cameras will be taken away as evidence. They expand the crime scene so big so you can't even film what's going on because it's so far away. And to take your cell phone away as evidence, I mean, they need a warrant for that. This is ridiculous. If your property cannot be taken away legally without due process, but they do it anyway, and they'll even smash your phone or whatever. And that's destroying evidence. But they do what they want, right? Okay, so a lot of people I hear, they argue, well, there's always a few bad apples to make the rest of them look bad. But, the problem is the police don't police themselves. They stick together and even lie in court for each other rather than admit they were wrong. I mean, if there were good police, then the good police would stop the bad apples from doing what they're doing. But it's the other way around. The bad apples stop the good guys from doing what's right. So let me talk about some of the tricks that the police have, or the tactics they use to violate a person's right. First of all, they outright lie to get you to confess. They have many vague laws, and they can accuse anyone of such things like disorderly conduct. That can mean anything. It's so vague. And lately, they've been even yelling out, "Stop resisting" when making an arrest on camera, even though the person being arrested is clearly not resisting at all. But it just protects them. So these tricks and tactics do nothing more to serve and protect the police. Another thing I'd like to point out are the high-speed car chases that put innocent civilians into harm's way of injury or even death. Now, most of these car chases are not necessary. We have helicopters and other means to track suspected criminals. They could set up roadblocks, and there's so many other ways, besides high-speed chases, that are much safer for the public. I mean, if this is Long Island, where are they going to go? Into the ocean? How are they going to get away? I mean, sooner or later they're going to have to get over a bridge, and I mean, aren't they monitored all the time? If they really wanted to get far away. So I'm really disgusted with car chases, especially on Long Island. Car chases are not serving and protecting. They're risking human life, and yet they're still very routine. So anyway, I can go on and provide thousands of newspaper articles that prove what I'm saying. The unwarranted use of firearms is another issue. Back all the way from Kent State to modern times, when unarmed civilians are gunned down in cold blood by police. There's even 2 reported incidences that I found where police arrested firefighters at the scene of an emergency because they didn't feel like they got the respect they deserved. Now, imagine arresting the people who were there to help in an emergency. That's really not serving and protecting, now is it? The police have actually gone out of control. They just do what they want and get away with it. Now, I'm not saying, police have never served anyone by helping an old lady cross the street or catching an actual thief. I know they do some good. But again, they're really there for generating money, giving out tickets, arresting people, being bullies, and I've just really had enough of this. I think people should demand that there's got to be a better way to keep the police in check, and I guess it's either with video filming or I don't know. I think the internal affairs just has to go. I mean, there has to be another way of investigating what police do and being fair about it, because they just get away with way too much lately. Way too much. They're shooting people's dogs. I mean, every time I turn on the internet and read another story about how they shot somebody's dog. I mean, for what? They have, this is insane. They have pepper spray and they have tasers and all this. These big, giant, strong guys and women, and they think, oh well, just shoot it. Unbelievable. I mean, if that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what does. So, all this has to stop. All this has to stop. This is ridiculous. What do you think? 631-440-6012. Leave the message on the machine, and we'll address what you have to say, whether you agree or disagree. I mean, has it gone out of control now? Are police there really to serve and protect? What do you think? All right, well, I'm getting towards the end of the show again. We had some pretty decent topics, and I want you to let me know what you think about them. That's what the show is all about, talking about things that the major networks are afraid to talk about. And speak out, free speech, use it. It's a right. Use it. Use public access. Call the show. I will put you on the air, whatever you say, unedited. Okay? Thanks again for watching, and until next week, have a good one.